Hello everyone, my name is Chandler, and today I'm going to show you how to open up, take apart, and service a Nintendo GameCube. Now, I got this GameCube yesterday from a friend who also got it from a friend, and this thing was just in pretty rough shape, and did come with a game though. I mean, that's a plus. But when I got this, first thing I noticed was that it just reeked of cigarettes. It just stinks. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take it apart, clean it, service it, and maybe even install new thermal paste. We're going to get it back to tip-top shape. So now that you have all the main screws out that holds the console together, you can only see 3 here because one of them is actually stuck in there, but it's loose. I'm going to carefully lift this up, and there you go. You can see the insides right here. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. It could use a lot of cleaning, and that's what we're here to do today. We're going to service it by cleaning. So next we're going to just give it a quick wipe down with a dry cloth, or just any regular paper towel. Just get any of the surface dust off of it. This is actually my first time opening this console up too, but it's not too hard because most consoles, especially Nintendo consoles, are pretty much the same in design. Just want to keep doing that. Alright, so next you want to take out the plates that hold on to the faces and whatnot of the console. I'm going to take those out very carefully. So for the GameCube, the front face, controller face, what it does is you have these 2 clips right here. You gotta pop them out just like that and pull it up. Now you're gonna have a ribbon cable attached right here. You want to be extremely careful to pull that off, and it actually pulls off on the bottom down here. I'm going to try and do that real quick. So you got a ribbon cable right here, and all you want to do is just carefully slide it out, just like so, as not to break any of the contacts. There we go, we have the front face off. Now we're going to put that aside in our safe spot. And now we've exposed more of the console, so we can get into the deeper details and cleaning it. Now what you're going to do is grab your super magical isopropyl alcohol and take that out. Grab your cotton swab, and you're going to dip it in there, and you're just going to start cleaning off all that dirt and cleaning those contacts. Now the reason why I use isopropyl alcohol, and most people who actually restore and clean these consoles use isopropyl alcohol is because it evaporates really quickly. Alright, now that we have the fan off, you can see into the more into the internals and where the heatsink is to keep the CPU cool. And it's not that dirty, luckily, so I'm just going to dip this into some iso alcohol and carefully just do that over the grill. Get those cobwebs and light dust off. It's always good to keep your consoles clean, especially ones that have fans in them, because if the fan or the vent gets blocked, then it would be really tough for the CPU to keep cool, and it can overheat, and that can cause a lot of problems. Now for the fun part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all of these screws right here, and it's going to lift the entire piece off, and I'm going to get a better look at the inside and make sure it is all clean and in good shape. I will come back. Now after you do all of these screws, you also have these 4 that hold, or they're right above the save slots, and they're really long and you don't want to lose them. I would recommend putting them in the same pile as all the others, and you just simply remember that they go here, because these are also what hold it together, and they're pretty important. Alright, when you're ready to take the top off, you gotta remember there's actually 2 layers of metal right here. You can only lift up the top layer right now, because there are more screws that hold it in the bottom layer. So what I'm going to do is not touch the sensor. We gotta be extremely careful. Just slowly lift it up. It might have to pop, or it might take you some effort, but it will probably pop. Watch for any wires, and there you go. You got the internals of your GameCube. I can't talk today. Oh, real quick. These are probably going to fall off, so put them in the slot next to the these screws that you just took off. These go right on top of the save slots. You go right there. Here, once you take this off, this is the heat sink. This is what cools the CPU and keeps it from overheating. Now, to be honest, this board right here is already really clean, but just to show you what to do, I'm going to clean it anyway, and I'll show you how. So it's very simple. Just grab your iso alcohol, wet your cotton swab, and just do whatever with it. Now right now what I'm going to do is actually a little bonus for y'all. Sometimes you don't really have to do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the heatsink off, and I'm going to change the thermal paste on the CPU. What that does is just transfers the heat from the CPU onto the heatsink, and that helps with cooling a lot. Sometimes you don't really have to do that, especially for consoles like these, but I'm just going to do it as a bonus. But in anything else, do not take off the heatsink. You don't actually have to do that when just cleaning. So here we go. Alright, I'm back. I got it loosened, and here we go. I'm going to be seeing this for the first time too, so here we go. Just lift carefully, and yeah, look at that. There we go. It's much bigger than I expected to. So what you're going to do is you're just going to have to get all of this off. You might even, I wouldn't really recommend this, but run it through the sink maybe. Just make sure it's completely dry. Actually, I can just peel this off. I'm not going to do that right now, but when you get it all, you want to get all of it off of the CPU, and then all of it off the GPU as well. And that's actually a lot of thermal paste. Wow. I will come back. Once your heatsink and internals are cleaned, now it's time to apply the thermal paste. Alright, once you have all of your thermal paste installed, you want to carefully reapply your heatsink, making sure that this is spotless and as clean as you can make it. Just want to carefully put it on there, just like so. And you want to get it right the first time too, because if you don't, then you'd have to remount most of the thermal paste, and that's kind of annoying. Alright, so now that you've got everything cleaned on the bottom side, what you're going to do is get everything that I just told you and do it reverse. You're just going to put this back on, put all the screws back in, and you get... Now I'm not going to try and open up the CD-ROM because I'm not specialized in that, and there's a lot more things that can go wrong inside of here, and most of the time it's usually pretty clean. All you gotta do is just blow in it, and that's about it. But now I'm going to start putting the console back together. Alright, now that we have all of the main internals cleaned, we're going to address the back plate and the front plate. So what I'm going to do is, for this back plate, since there are no electronics attached to it, all I gotta do is just grab another towel or cotton swab and just start cleaning off all the gunk in the corners and whatnot. I'm gonna keep doing that until you've cleaned it or you think it's clean. Now we're going to address the front plate, which you know has the controller ports attached to it. Now it just takes these two screws right here to take it off, but this is just a careful process that I need to do. Now I just want to clean the insides of the controller ports to ensure good connection to keep your controllers working properly. Because the front plate now has no electronic parts on it, we're just going to do the same thing we did to the back plate, and we're just going to clean it off. Alright, now before you reapply the face plate, you want to remember about this ribbon cable. Now it's just got to go right into the back into the slot, right back where it came. It's got to be real careful because ribbon cables are relatively fragile and hard to get it in right. It's kind of like a very, very, very thin cartridge. Just gotta wiggle it just a tiny bit to make sure it goes all the way down. And there we go. You just gotta snap it back in place. And the face is back on. Back to the top half of the case. Now there are no electronic parts on here, but there are a lot of moving parts too. But most of the time these aren't really all that dirty. I mean, you can just grab yourself a paper towel and some soap and clean it off, get it nice and shiny. And also there's also a fan grate right here that most of the time usually gets pretty dusty. So all you gotta do is just put a towel over it and blow on it, and you just got it nice and clean, and you just gotta put it back on. Simple as that. Now don't forget that these screws are slightly different and they have a different head on them, so we're going to use that same type of head. Almost forgot, now that you have the both sides of the cases back on, you can also now clean all of the bottom side. And I recommend only using isopropyl alcohol for this because anything else, it might drip down and back into the circuit board, and that can cause a lot of problems, and we don't want that. And now the moment of truth. See if all of this was worth it. Red light, that's a good sign.